Hello, everyone. I appreciate you coming back, and coming together to it. But there is no choice but to go on. That's what we do. But please, always circle back and remember all those in your thoughts and your prayers. And beyond that, if you know these people individually, please call them. Please call them and let them know you're thinking about it. I want to get as quickly as I possibly can to the questions and everything, because this is a hot topic around our state, and no question it ought to be a topic that is blazing hot. And the reason I say that is because of the level of importance that it has. If I could just share just 2 or 3 thoughts with you, a couple of minutes and everything, but here's all there is to it. I mean, you have trusted me, and you've been kind enough to re-elect me. You've been kind enough that we won every single county in the state. Now, along the way, then not long after that, we've continued to try to guide ourselves through this pandemic. We've done that from the standpoint of the safety and health of our citizens, as well as we've done that from the standpoint of looking after our economy and taking care of the store. In comparison to the states that are around us, especially our bordering states, there's no question how we've done. And from the standpoint of the economics, it's off the chart. From the standpoint of the greatness that all the people have done pulling the rope, and I surely don't take credit for just only thing but a small, teeny part. But with all of that and everything, you've got medical experts and educational experts and all the people from the DHHR to the National Guard to the first responders to health clinics and on and on and on that have done a phenomenal job. Now, they had to have a leader of the band. They had to have a coach. And I very proudly am and very honored that you chose me to do that. Now, in doing just that, let me tell you this. At my last State of the State, which was just weeks ago, without any question, I could have just taken a big, giant victory lap. I could have said, look at all we've accomplished, look at all we've done, look how great we are in every way. I didn't really do that. And the reason I chose not to do that was just simply one thing, and that is just this, is I mean it when I tell you I love you. And I mean it when I tell you the truth. And I challenge people all the time, all across this great state or anywhere. Find something that I've told you that is not the truth, that I absolutely knew at the time that I was telling you that it wasn't the truth. You can't find that. I make mistakes, just like everybody. But at the same time, I'm going to always be a man of honor and a person of truth. Now, in all of that, again, like I said, you've trusted me. Now, here's the dilemma. You don't need a governor that's just going to sit here now and take a victory lap. There will be a point in time that West Virginia will slip back if we do not do something, and do something with the opportunity right in our lap. I really believe that God above put me here and you where you are for a reason. Now, if that is true for a reason, let me just tell you just this. When it boils right down to it, if in fact you are concerned that we can slip back, think of the things that have happened, the opportunity that's right in our midst. Absolutely, we've handled all the way through this pandemic in a way that the nation has perked up and looked at West Virginia. Over and over and over, we've been first and first and first. And the nation continues to look at West Virginia and seek West Virginia's wisdom. Well, I've thought they should have done that all along. I've thought that should have been happening for decades and decades. It didn't. Our image was not good. Not good to the outside world. We always knew how great we are here, but not good to the outside world. With all of that has really changed. Now, where you are is people are looking at West Virginia now. People are seeking West Virginia now. And not only that, but the economics of our state right now are strong. What better time could there possibly be to really put a stake in the sand and move now, right now? I am telling you, and I want everyone to hear me loud and clear, if we don't do this, we will regret it forever. Absolutely, it can be done, and it will drive opportunity to this state beyond belief. Now, we'll have to raise a tax here and there, not going forward, now. We'll have to do some of that. There's no question that we'll have to do some of that. But at the end of the day, what I want to have happen here is absolutely as best I possibly can make this happen. I want the people of this state's net tax burden to go down. Now, if we can accomplish this, it will be absolutely the greatest thing that you can ever imagine. Now just think, and just step back from this just 1 second. What is this really all about? Is it all about trying to reduce your tax, of which absolutely we will do? Or is it all about an opportunity? Well, first and foremost, I believe it's about an opportunity. It's about an opportunity to those that are struggling and are making $20,000 or $30,000 a year out there and are having a hard time doing this and that, whatever it may be. It's about reaching out to those people and saying, we don't want you there. We want to drag you up to where you're making $50,000 a year and things are better in your life. It is absolutely about driving opportunity and jobs to this state like you can't imagine. From the standpoint of jobs, if we just step back and listen just to this, realistically, we have a very low corporate tax today. We have a very low property tax today. Well, if that was enough, why didn't it come? Why didn't it come? Well, the bottom line to the whole thing is just really simple. We went out and passed a right-to-work law. We got rid of prevailing wage. We built fields all over the place in thinking that they will come. They didn't come, did they? Absolutely, and I hate to say this because this sounds egotistical, but when your coach walked in the door and he stepped back and said, we got to create an instant job. We went out on our own to pass the roads to prosperity. We got to create an instant job. We got to absolutely be dedicated enough to do things, good things for education. We gave incredible raises. We put real money in PEIA. We absolutely believed in our natural resources that they would continue to climb, and they did. And lo and behold, this state took off. Now, the same guy that told you all that, right in the wake of a lot of doubters, said, oh, they'll never do this, they'll never do that, and everything else, and we did it. And it paid off, and it paid incredible dividends. The same guy that's led you through this pandemic like I would think nobody else around me with the exception of all these wonderful experts. And I don't mean that in a facetious way. There's lots of people that could have probably done my job. But I put together a network of experts that are second to none. That's what I do. You see, I listen to people. I absolutely listen. But in all of this, I'm going to just tell you just one more time. My goal is to lower your taxes now. That is my goal. There's a million different ways that this can be done. That's my goal right now. My secondary goal right behind that is to take excess dollars that we have today in our state and put them in an insurance bucket, basically, a bucket that will sit there in case we come up with any kind of level of shortfall, a rainy day fund, a second rainy day fund that we can establish right now, I think. Now, is it easy? Of course it's not easy. Is there a lot of stuff that has to be done? Well, of course there's a lot of stuff that has to be done. Now, I'm going to take your questions, and I've got our Secretary of Revenue, Dave Hardy, here, that if I can't answer, I'm going to turn to him. But just remember just this, and this is all there is to it. Our Olympic team was coached by a man, it was our hockey Olympic team. The Miracle on Ice was coached by a man, his name was Herb Brooks. Now, he's not with us anymore, but Herb Brooks, all of a sudden, that bunch of kids and everything that was playing the most unbelievable hockey that you can ever imagine, they defeated the Russians, and the Russians had played in the United States. They had come and played some exhibition games against our all-stars in the United States, our professional all-stars, and they had just worn them out. The Russians were absolutely triumphant beyond belief. And now this ragtag bunch of kids that had a real life passion defeated the Russians. And now they were playing, I believe it was Sweden, I hope that I'm saying that correctly, and they were playing Sweden in the championship game to get the gold medal. And at halftime, or they're after the 2 periods or whatever, I think they play 3 periods. I don't know much about hockey. You can tell that. But let me go back. Maybe it was Finland. Let's just say it was Finland, okay? And I'm not positive, but I think it was Finland. All right, now. So at their break between their quarters or thirds or whatever they call halves and everything, when they're breaking there, Herb Brooks supposedly walked in the locker room and they were behind. Now, they had defeated the mighty Russians, the mighty Soviet Union that was strong beyond belief. And now they were playing a weaker team to win the gold medal. And Herb Brooks walked into the locker room and said, "If you lose this game, you'll take it to your grave." Well, I'm going to tell you, as passionately as I know how to tell you, if we blow this opportunity, we will remember it forever. Hopefully we won't take it to our grave, but we probably will. I'll take your questions now, and I'm going to answer them to the very best of my ability, and I'm going to use Dave Hardy to help me, and so please fire your questions.
All right, Governor, the first question today comes from Tom Pinkerton from Huntington. He says, why would you hold a town hall with only 3 to 4 hours notice during the workday? How serious are you about West Virginians being able to participate? Why not a primetime town hall with several days to submit questions?
Well, Tom, let me tell you this. It was Tom, is that correct? Tom, let me tell you this. First of all, I've been thinking about this an awful lot on how we can start educating the public. They deserve that. And how we can start basically, a marketing campaign that shows what West Virginia is truly trying to do here. Well, in thinking about that over the weekend, I said, this has got to go now. It's got to go right now. People deserve to be educated. As far as the town hall in the evening and giving you notice, we're going to have to do a bunch of these because we'll never get through all the questions and everything. We're going to have to do a bunch of these and everything where you can hear from me about what I know or what Dave Hardy knows or what others that are experts know. So with all that, we will follow up, and I think we're going to follow up on Wednesday in the evening time, and that'll be put out in just a little while, but in the evening time on Wednesday with the town hall as well. And however many we have to have for the people to absolutely understand exactly what I'm trying to do, that's how many we'll have. But thanks again, Tom.
All right, next question comes from Rita in West Union. Governor Justice, my family and I want to thank you for your leadership through this pandemic. You and your team have done an outstanding job. Why do you think the legislators want to pass a bill that takes away your authority, and does that mean they won't support the repeal of the income tax?
Well, I don't know how to answer that one, but let me just say this just real quick. From the standpoint of them taking away my authority, I could care less about that. I could care less. I want to be 100,000% transparent in everything we do. but we have done the job. We have done exactly what we were supposed to do. We've done the job for our health and safety, and we've done the job for our on looking after our economy in every way. From the standpoint of whether it be our legislature or it be anybody's legislature or it be 134 Jim Justices, when you have an emergency, even if the emergency lasts for an extended period of time, you have got to have a governor, and you've got to have a leader of the band. You've got to have somebody that can act. Really and truly, you see what's going on in D.C., and not to say, I mean, I hope and pray that we're going to have great stuff going on here, but when you put 134 people in a room, you've got generally 134 ideas, and you've got a process that takes a lot of time. For future governors, I would hope and pray that we don't strip away their powers to act because you elected them to act. You elected them to act. And really and truly, if we, from the standpoint of getting 500 different opinions on stuff and everything, you'll have a real mess. And so, what was the back part of the question? I'm sorry.
It was, do you think...
repealing the tax. Now, look, I hope and pray again that we're not going to get in a food fight over emergency powers and who has the power to do this and that. I think it is frivolous is the right word to think that a Pat McGeehan, if he was sitting in this job, could do this job. I mean, give me a break. And the same man saying that the governor's being a dictator, well, are you kidding me? That's the last thing on earth I want to be. I just want to be able to do the job. And as far as repealing the tax, the income tax and everything, I hope to goodness that they're bigger than that. We don't need to get in a food fight over that.
All right, the next question comes from Ray Whiting in Dunbar. His question has 4 parts. Number 1, how will eliminating the personal income tax affect the economic growth in West Virginia? Number 2, will this proposal help PEIA in its financial matters? Number 3, what's the downside to eliminating the personal income tax? And number 4, how much will we stand to lose if this goes through?
Well, the first part, again, one more time, please, Jordan.
How will eliminating the personal income tax affect the economic growth in West Virginia?
It's Ray, is that correct? Well, Ray, again, thank you. And just think of this just for a second, Ray. We have done so many things. I mean, we have landed Hyperloop, an incredible company from Wales, and we have absolutely watched after the farm and watched after the CARES money and done all kinds of stuff like that. But Ray, we're still losing population in West Virginia. Absolutely, Ray. Tell me just simply this. When the band quits playing, why are people going to come to West Virginia? We have expanded tourism and we've done lots and lots and lots of stuff. But Ray, to take us to another level today, with all the great news on how we've handled the pandemic and all that, and people really looking at West Virginia, if we get on a pathway to extinguish our state income tax, Ray, it will absolutely, and you mark it down, it will drive incredible opportunity right here to West Virginia. It will drive job opportunity beyond belief. It will absolutely drive the ability for wages to increase substantially. It will absolutely help our schools. It will drive up property taxes, property values, not property taxes, but property values. And at the end of the day, I say it this way all the time. I say it that you go to somebody in Tennessee and you walk up to them and you say, how do you like all this? And they turn and say, well, to be perfectly honest, at the end of the day, I used to be making $35,000 a year, and now I'm making $62,000. And on top of that, I had my house for sale, way back before this all took place, and I had it for sale for $58,000, and I just sold it for $117,000. And then right on behind that, they're liable to say, well, you know, summer after summer, years and years and years ago, I took my kids to Disney World every year. And now, all I got to do is go around the block and Dollywood's there. You know, absolutely, Ray, this will drive so much good to West Virginia today because of the opportunity we have right now. From PEIA, naturally, this could very well increase the funding and make PEIA easier going forward on all of us. From the standpoint of the downside, I see none. Because in the first phase, I would cut half the income tax on everybody in the state of West Virginia. And at that point in time, sit back and let the growth take us there. If, in fact, the growth doesn't come about, stay there. You don't have to go any further. Stay right there. You know, and how much will it cost us? Well, it won't cost us anything except a tremendous amount of people that will come and bring job opportunity and goodness to this state.
All right, thank you, Ray. Next question comes from Josh Vincent from Fairmont. How and why do you propose a wealth tax in West Virginia? What is included in the wealth determination? Is it home, businesses, retirements, or trusts?
It's none of those. And that was an absolute mistake of mine in the state of the state. I should have never called it a wealth tax because, you know, your question is a valid concern. It is none of those. What it is a consumption or a luxury type tax. It has nothing to do with your home or your wealth or your situation today in any way. This is not income redistribution or whatever. This is absolutely just this. If you go out and you can buy a bracelet and it's a $12,000 bracelet, I feel like that our most wealthy should contribute more. And so from that standpoint, a one item purchase in excess of, I think it's $5,000, one item. Now, not a kitchen set that costs $5,000. One item that costs in excess of $5,000 is what we've got plugged in right now. And if you buy that one item, maybe you can throw another $150 in a collection plate. And from that standpoint, the way I've looked at this whole thing is just this. The people that are extracting our natural resources, I don't want much. I don't want much at all. But I think they ought to pay just a little bit more. You know, when things are good, only when things are good. I think we ought to help them in every way when things are tough. But I think if things are really good, they ought to pay just a little bit more. Just throw a little bit more in the collection plate. The same thing with the luxury tax. From the standpoint of our professionals that have been excluded from paying tax, I think they ought to be included, you know. And from the standpoint of all those, all through, what I am trying to do is work the numbers to where you come out with a net decrease and an absolute increase in revenue rather than an increase in taxation.
All right, the next question comes from Amanda Huffman in Martinsburg. How is it okay for Berkeley County to add extra fees or taxes, such as the storm water fee increase? They are proposing more while nothing is being used with the money.
Now, Amanda, I can't help you on that one. I can't answer that one. I don't really know exactly what's going on in Berkeley County, and I surely can't get into that one. I can't help you there.
All right, the next question comes from Brad McElhenney from Charleston. Governor, during your State of the State address, you made a reference to continuing to hold back federal relief dollars in buckets, and that seemed to refer to having a safety net in case West Virginia isn't able to fully make up for the income tax cut. What did you mean by that, and how would it work? Are you referring to federal relief the state already has on hand or upcoming federal relief? And do you think the Biden administration's intention for states to hold on to the relief for their own fiscal insurance policies?
Whoa, Brad, that was a long question. Of course, I would only tease and say, but the media can ask long questions. But Brad, let me say this. in the state of West Virginia today, we have a cash surplus. You know, in 2019, we had an incredible surplus, and in 2020, we ran across the finish line with a surplus in a COVID year like nobody's business. In 2021, we have a significant cash surplus at this point in time, and right behind this, there's additional stimulus packages coming, and we have not delved into the deep dive where we could actually pull money from the existing stimulus that we already have that could raise the surplus and raise the cash even higher. Now, we could do one of two things. We could just spend the money and we could just throw the money away. Or we have the opportunity, and that's why I keep going back to that word opportunity. We have the opportunity to put that aside in some way, establish something. Maybe it's a vehicle that I'm not thinking about, but I use a second rainy day fund and use it to backfill any shortfalls or use it however we choose to use it. But from the standpoint of our bondholders and so on like that, you know, I really truly believe that that's something that they would welcome and welcome immediately. And so with all that being said, that's what I was referring to with that. And I think that would be a great way to not have us just throw away a bunch of money. And from the standpoint of the Biden administration and us using those monies for certain things, I think at the end of the day, as we receive the stimulus dollars and everything, if we opt to deep dive and recapture revenue, and that revenue comes on our balance sheet as a cash surplus, and we get a supplemental from the legislature and everything to put it in that bucket, I think that's absolutely doable.
All right, next question comes from Brenda Hunt from Ripley. Why is the liquor tax not included to increase if state income tax is eliminated?
Well, Brenda, I would be the first to say that I would be all in to increase the liquor tax, and I don't know that it's off the table, you know, because we don't have these numbers finalized yet at all. But the problem is we just don't receive incredible amounts of dollars from a modest or even halfway significant, you know, increase in that tax. You know, and so I don't know that it can help us a lot. To help us some, I'd be absolutely for it.
All right, the next question comes from Gary Smith from Martinsburg. The ending of the income tax sounds great. My major concern is the gasoline tax. We already pay 25 to 30 cents more per gallon than our neighboring states. If you drop the state income tax, will the gas tax have to go higher to compensate for the loss?
No, absolutely no. Our gas tax is high enough right now. It will not have to go any higher at all.
All right, the next question is from Maggie in Clarksburg. Will the marijuana industry that is underway for West Virginia be able to generate enough revenue in taxes to go to the state to cover the loss of state income taxes? Is raising the sales tax to the highest level in the country still going to be necessary if the marijuana industry could contribute enough to cover the loss of the state income tax revenue?
And her name was Mary, is that correct?
It was Maggie.
Maggie, I want you to hear me out on this, okay? I'm not for recreational marijuana. And the reason I'm not for that is because we haven't gotten our arms around the drug situation in West Virginia. We're working it and we're doing better, but we still haven't gotten our arms around that, and layering in another possible, you know, possibility of making that situation worse, I wouldn't be for. But it may not be up to me. Really and truly, there's a movement going on nationwide and everything to make recreational marijuana legal, you know. And so from the standpoint of your question about marijuana, if we can extract taxes from marijuana that can help us in this effort to try to get rid of our state income taxes, we absolutely should do that. It's a very, very good thought and everything. Will it be enough dollars? It will be significant, there's no question. Will it be enough dollars to pull off the income tax stuff? Well, no way, no way. But it will be real dollars that could really help along the way. And so it's a great question, and I think it should absolutely still be on the table. And as we move forward in our state and everything, there could be a lot of possibilities there.
All right, the next question is from Lisa in Huntington. Have you ever moved to another state before? You look at the cost of living and the quality of life when you are young. You look at an income tax when you are at retirement age. After the winter we just had, what convinces you that anyone wants to retire in West Virginia rather than Florida?
Oh, my. This was Lisa, is that correct? Lisa, you have got to be kidding me. If you go to Florida in the summer, you absolutely can fry eggs on your front sidewalk. I mean, you can't go outside. You can't breathe. And if you go outside, you're immediately eaten up by the bugs, and you can't see 700 yards because you're flat as a tabletop. I personally believe that West Virginia has so much more to offer, it's unbelievable. But in addition to that, Lisa, if we had no income tax in West Virginia, 2/3 of the nation's population is right within a rock's throw of us. And to get to Florida, they're going to have to drive through us to get to Florida. They're not going to go to Florida. Don't get me wrong. I know it's wonderful in Florida today, and I know that they have oceans all the way around it and everything, and there's so many great things that are going on in Florida, and that's great. That's great. But I'm also very partial to West Virginia.
Next one is from William in Reedsville. We cut income taxes in 2007, and we were one of 12 states that lost jobs in 2019, despite the promises that it would bring in jobs. How will this be any different this time?
Well, personally, I believe that what we have done through the years is we have taken a little bit off this, and then jumped all the way over here and taken a little bit off this, and then we've gone over here and taken a little bit off this. And when we're doing that, nobody on the outside really sees what's really happening in West Virginia. You have incredible property taxes. You have incredible business taxes. And why aren't people coming? And in this situation, if I felt like by making a move today that it was really going to hurt us going forward, well, we don't make it. I can't guarantee you that it's a slam dunk beyond belief. I believe it. I believe it with all in me. Now, but just stay with me. What's the downside? I think for all practical purposes, the downside is nothing. What's the upside if I'm right? Off the chart. So really and truly, this idea of just lowering a tax a tenth so we can run out and try to get elected and say, well, we lowered your taxes. I'm not here for that. I'm not here for that at all. I'm here for one thing, and that is try to significantly make things better in West Virginia. We've done that, and that's what I want to continue to do.
All right, the next question is from Tammy Treadway in Beckley. Will any state agencies have to take a budget cut due to the loss of tax revenue?
No. We want to be prudent, and we want to run our state agencies the very, very best that we possibly can, but we sure don't want to start cutting services and everything else to achieve this. The answer is no.
Next question comes from Matthew Young in Lewisburg. Is Governor Justice studying or using any other states, such as Washington State, to model his proposal after? Some of the points mentioned during his State of the State address are reminiscent of the methods Washington State has in place to make up their difference, i.e. a luxury tax, tobacco, alcohol, etc.
Well, now I am going to defer to my great Secretary of Revenue, Dave Hardy, because he's going to tell you just this, that we have run to ground what every state in this country is doing over and over. But Secretary, take over, and I'll breathe a little bit while you're doing that. I'm going to drink a little water.
To the question, we looked at virtually every state, and I mean literally all 50 states, through the Tax Foundation, which is what we use for our main research platform. But we specifically zeroed in on the 9 states that don't have an income tax, and many of those states we knew ahead of time. For example, Florida, Nevada, Wyoming, South Dakota. But we also took a hard look at Tennessee, because Tennessee is, of course, in many ways like West Virginia. It's got a lot of commonalities. and geographically it's pretty close. So we felt like that's a place that we might be competing with to try to attract people to come to our state. So yes, the answer is yes. We looked at everything and we tried to sample every state we could find and pick the best things, also keeping in mind that we wanted to tailor any ideas that we have to West Virginia and its unique demographics and its unique population and its unique household income.
All right, next question comes from Michael in Salt Rock. Why are we not doing away with the state income tax by initiating a 4% grocery tax and a 7% prepared foods, restaurant, tobacco, and alcohol tax to make up the difference?
Well, Michael, I appreciate you again. I am a real believer just this, that all of us in West Virginia are going to have to pull the rope. I am absolutely not in favor of, and I'll veto this in a second, and the only way that it'll ever get there is somebody will have to override my veto, but I am not in favor of raising the food tax. We got people out there that are still hurting in lots of different ways. Now, I am going to tell you that person that's struggling and making $25,000, the only way in the world that I can move them and get them in a $20,000 or $25,000 or $30,000, move them to a $50,000 income and everything, is drive people to the state of West Virginia. The only way I can do that's that. But as far as a prepared food tax or
on soft drinks going to affect my livelihood?
Well, just think about it just 1 second. What's the underlying real raise? We've played with a lot of different numbers. Right now, we're playing with an additional 4 cents a can. Now, just think about it. If we were to settle on that, in all the numbers that I have, and I'm going to go through this in just a second with you, but But in this, what we've plugged in all across the whole thing is an $80 increase for buying soda pop. Now, do you know how many cans of soda pop that is? Even if we were at a nickel, that's 1,600 cans of soda pop a year. Well, I'm going to tell you, first of all, if people are drinking 1,600 cans of soda pop, and I know a lot of families in our state are doing that, we probably need to slow up just a little bit on that. But to answer your question point blank, just answer just this. If in fact we're successful and we drive people to the state of West Virginia, like I know we're going to do, how successful do we really have to be to drive a number like President Blair said is 400,000 a year, 400,000 in a 10-year period? I think it'll be much more dramatic than that. But just think about it. 40,000 people come into West Virginia every year. 40,000 plus leave West Virginia a year. If we could retain the ones that are leaving, we're already doing it. Now, with that, just ask one question, sir, and it's just this. If we increase West Virginia's population by 20%, do you think there'll be more soft drinks bought here or less? If the tax is 4 cents and we increase the population by 20%, do you think there'll be more soft drinks bought here or less? I'll tell you the answer is just simple as mud. Without any question, you increase the population of West Virginia, you're going to end up with more soft drinks bought here. That's all there is to it.
All right, the next question is from Doet Koppler in Princeton. I wonder what the impact on the people of West Virginia would be if our state were to become a growth state versus a stagnant/dying state that loses population every year and thus drives up the cost of nearly every government service to those who remain.
Well, that's my very point. And I didn't get the name, but that's my very point. You know, we've been on a run in West Virginia, and we've been on a hot streak for the last 3 or 4 years. And if I have anything to do with it, we're going to stay on a hot streak. But at some point in time, the hot streak will end, won't it? And every time we turn around with a state that's not growing and a state that is absolutely missing this kind of opportunity, without any question, you're going to just have to pay more. You're going to have to pay more for everything coming or going. I'm trying to get that completely off your back. I'm trying to really take you somewhere. You've been kind enough to listen to me before, but you really need to listen to me now.
The next question is from Michael Woody in Bell. Do you think with the recent classification of the New River Gorge becoming a national park, that by eliminating the state income tax, that may bring in businesses for that area?
No question. No question whatsoever. I mean, the New River Gorge becoming a national park is wonderful, wonderful news. At the end of the day, I mean, just think about just this. Let me just flip that question right back this way. Would you think that if West Virginia handled the pandemic from a standpoint of health and safety and economics just great, and then you combined with it, you're getting rid of the state income tax, would that drive a lot of people here? Well, of course it would. Of course it would. Would you think that doing all the stuff we've done on tourism and everything else, and now getting rid of the state income tax, is that going to drive a lot of people here? Well, sure it is. Would you think that getting the New River Gorge National Park and getting rid of the state income tax? Absolutely it is. But you see, what is common in all three? What is common in all three is the biggest appealing thing in the nation. 9 states have no income tax. Tell me how they're doing. The only way that you can derail is not manage the store. Let your budget just get completely crazy. Spend money like crazy. That's why I proposed, for all practical purposes, a flat budget. Now, does that mean we have to stay dead level flat? Well, of course not. Of course not. And if we want, as we go a little forward, if we want to grow a little bit in our budget, that's okay. That's okay. I'm a believer. I'm a believer in government running stuff and goodness coming from that. I'm a believer in the private sector. I'm a believer in the whole process working.
Next question comes from Lisa Pritchard in Huntington. Do you think I will do 95% or 100% of my shopping in Ohio if you raise the sales tax?
Well, Lisa, you may, but really and truly, at the end of the day, I don't think that will happen, and I don't think that it will happen, from the standpoint of significant, because it's going to cost you money to drive over to Ohio. It's going to wear and tear on your vehicle and the gas and everything else under the sun, and your time. And time is the precious commodity that none of us want to give up. But Lisa, just listen to me on this. If you go to Ohio to buy your stuff, more power to you. More power to you. You know what I'm trying to do? Lisa, I'm trying to get all those people that are in a border county to you that are in Ohio to move here. I mean, give me a break. If we absolutely get a migration of people moving to get away from state income tax and get away from this burdensome, this burden that's happening in our border states and will come to us, and they live here, sure, you can go buy your stuff in Ohio. That's fine with me. You go on and buy your stuff in Ohio. But we're going to have the people here.
Next question comes from Anthony in Panther. How can the elimination of the income tax help when basic infrastructure is needed to attract business?
Anthony, now look, you can put a lot of things in my lap, but you can't put that one. Anthony, these roads didn't get in the condition that they're in, on my watch. I will promise you that. And on my watch, we have paved every road and pulled every ditch and fixed every guardrail and everything that you can imagine, and we still got a long ways to go. But the neglect happened from decades before I got here. We sold all of our equipment. We sold all of our maintenance equipment and everything else under watches of other governors and everything. We absolutely didn't have a pot to pee in because we didn't have any. We really didn't have any surpluses, and we were just draining rainy day right and left and everything else. And we let our roads go to you know what. Now, Anthony, you can talk to me all day long, but we are working every day, every single day, to try to make our roads better and better, and we've made one whale of a difference.
All right, next question comes from Jess Mancini in Parkersburg. Today you said growth would make up for the revenue loss to the state from the phase-out and repeal of the personal income tax. Can you say with confidence that other sources of revenue to make up for a revenue shortage, such as increasing vehicle licensing and registration fees, will not be required?
I do not think, in all my stuff, I do not have anything in there for registration fees or vehicle licensing or going up in any way. Not in any way. Basically, and what was the name again, please?
Jess.
Jeff. Basically, if you'll just step back and think about this, basically what I've got in my thing is looking at the things that hurt us, tobacco and soft drinks to some degree. And then I looked at our natural resource partners to be able to jump up and try to just help us a little bit when things are really, really, really good. That's coal and oil and gas. And I looked at our professionals that are doing well in their life and everything, and asked them to just step up and help just a little bit. And they're going to scare you and say, from our lawyers or our accountants or whatever, say, well, if we have to add a 7.5% sales tax to this thing, we're just going to pass it on to the customer. Well, that may be, but that may be the way it is in a socialistic economy. But if Dave, who's sitting right here with me, has an accounting firm and I've got an accounting firm and everything, I may want to eat that cost increase and everything to be able to have the business. That's what competition does. And from the standpoint, we are going to have to raise our sales tax, and we're going to have to raise our sales tax a little bit. I didn't want anything to do with food. And from the standpoint, the only other thing in my proposal was our luxury tax. And that luxury tax basically was to ask the people that are doing really great in life to just pay just a little bit more, just try to help us just a little bit more.
All right, next question from Charlotte Hayes in Elkview. I would love to see West Virginia become a no-tax state. We have considered moving to a no-tax state, but would much prefer to stay here in West Virginia. So number one, how quickly will the income tax be eliminated, or how long will it take to phase in? Number two, will other taxes increase, and if so, which ones? And number three, what is a wealth tax?
Okay, let me back up. The wealth tax is not a wealth tax. It is a luxury tax on an item. It is a tax on an item that you choose because you're wealthy to be able to buy a luxurious type of item. It does not have anything to do with automobiles. It does not have anything to do with homes. Now, how long will it take? I think immediately we can cut everybody's tax in half. And then what I would propose to do is pause and wait and watch our growth, manage our growth and everything, and bucket, or not necessarily bucket, but use our growth to take us the rest of the way without raising any other tax, without doing anything else. Let our growth take us the rest of the way. Now, I've told you over and over that if the growth were not to come, you just stop. You don't need to do anything else. And from the standpoint of what led off with your question by saying you have considered moving to another state, well, just think about this. I mean, just let's be brutally honest. Throughout time, people have come and they've cut our timber. They took incredible wealth and they left. They've come and they've mined our coal or mined our gas or whatever it may be. They've extracted all kinds of wealth and they left. Now, I'm not degrading that and everything, but states have taken them away from us with their wealth. Well, now's our time, West Virginia, and that's what I'm trying to do.
Next question from Eric Shaw in Fairmont. Are you willing to go on record and tell the people of West Virginia that elimination of the personal income tax will be paid for by an increase in other taxes, such as the sales tax, reinstating the food tax, and a loss of state services such as plowing snow, road maintenance, and assisting children going to college, just so those in the upper income brackets can see a net decrease in their tax burden?
No chance on the planet, Eric, and the reason for all that is just this. If I thought that for a second, you know, you've seen me here every day. You have enough sense to know what my heart is, and if I thought for a second that we're going to run out and hurt West Virginians across the board, you know, in order to help anybody, no way, no possible way. Decrease in services, ridiculous. There's no way in the world I would be for the food tax. No way on this planet. You know, from the standpoint of just this, though, we have got to incentivize the wealthy from other states to come here. We want them to come here, don't we? We want them to bring their companies here. We want them to bring their wealth to West Virginia and make great things happen for West Virginia. So we can't just throw them to the side. We've got to absolutely try to get them here.
Next question from David Shrewsbury in Morgantown. I've seen where economists don't think this will lead to income members of the state. Their taxes are relatively low right now, and I don't think even you believe you can pull this off without shifting other taxes around that tend to hit lower wage earners harder.
I am concerned. I am concerned about the lowest wage earners. I am also concerned, though, that they will stay there forever, trapped in this spin cycle if we don't do something to try to help them. Now, I would be open to anything and everything. Let me just take 1 second and go through just 2 or 3 things here. The chart that I've been supplied right here by our revenue people that have absolutely pounded sand in every way, and they've come up with a chart that is as best they could possibly come up with. Now just stay with me and listen to this. What they've said in my proposal that I have figured in right now, that at a total dollars of earnings of about 32,000 is where this thing begins to break and you become revenue positive. Okay? Now in all of that, at 40,000, you basically in paying $81 extra for tobacco and $80 extra for soft drinks and even $15 extra for lottery tickets, you become positive by $202. Today, that's what you would become positive right now. If we're able, through growth, to phase out the balance of the income tax, at that point in time, you're going to become positive by $1,500. $1,550. Now just stay with me just a second. At $50,000, you become positive of $415. At $60,000, you become positive of $705. At $80,000, you become positive of $1,221. $90,000, you're $1,514. And at $100,000, you're $1,744. Now just stay with me just 1 second and just think about this. What I'm saying to you is this. At my numbers today, you can buy $1,600 across the board. Your property taxes would go up for all practical purposes between $30 and about $80, and that's for education. All these things could very well be moved. But at the end of the day, every single person that's got an income of about $32,000, it could be $35,000, But every single person in the state of West Virginia would gain revenue. Their taxes would go down. In doing so, what I want to do is reach back and help those that are under 33 or 30 whatever, and be able to help them as well. There's lots of ways to reach back and do that, but the very way that will help them the most is if they're working today and they're making $8 an hour, the way that can really help them the most is to get them a job to where they're making $11 an hour. Absolutely, the way to help them the most is to bring them opportunities. You know, back to the guy in Tennessee, you know what he would say to you today? He would say to you, you know, I'm not making $58,000 now, I'm making $80,000. And you know what else? If I don't like the job I'm in right now, I can go right around the corner and I can get 9 more jobs. That's our problem today. You don't have that competition. Absolutely, we need to drive people, opportunity, and jobs to our state.
Next question comes from Roger Mullins in Foster. How will the revenue lost to the state through the repeal of the income tax be replaced? Will other taxes go up? Will there be any new taxes?
Well, I've outlined it a whole bunch of times and everything. We need our natural resource partners to help just a little bit. We need to go up probably 1.5% to 1.4 or 1.9% in regard of our sales tax. We need to have our professionals help a little bit, and we need to have our tobacco companies and our soft drink companies be able to help a little bit on that end as well, or the people that are buying, all of our people that are buying those. You know, and I would tell you that it is absolutely doable. It does, you know, now I am totally flexible to how we change things here and there. And in addition to that, I can tell you just this. We do have in our model, we do have, because we've been led this way from discussions with the Senate and the House, and my discussions with them have been fantastic. And but we've been led this way that they can find about $25 million of cuts that are not going to hurt us in West Virginia, that we can do without. And from the standpoint of people that are retiring and so on, and just growing government for the sake of growing government, we don't need to do that. And we feel like we can pick up $10 million a year, you know, as we go forward from the standpoint of just people retiring and not having to hire back.
Next question comes from Valicia Leary in South Charleston. Are you considering eliminating the Promise Scholarship to cover lost income from the elimination or reduction of the state personal income tax?
No way. No way. The Promise Scholarship has been wonderful for the state of West Virginia, and I hope to goodness we all recognize that.
Next question comes from Garland Harris in Alderson. Eliminating the state income tax is a great idea. If you add 1 or 2 cent tax per ounce to soft drinks and alcohol purchases and a few cents to all tobacco products, that would make up most of the loss of the state income tax. Eliminating the state income tax would draw and encourage more people to move to this state, which would be more money spent and more taxes collected.
Well, Garland, you know, I think you're on the right track. I don't know that your numbers are exactly right and everything. You don't have the access to the numbers like we have here and everything, but your thoughts are good, and the bottom line is driving the people here, you know, is the secret. That's the secret to the whole thing. And the other thing I tell you is just this, is all those folks that are traveling through West Virginia, 76% of them that are out there on that turnpike, you know, everybody thought, oh, there's no way in the world Justice can do an easy pass for $8 a year. There's no way. And we did it, didn't we? And you know what? 76% of that traffic is out of state. And we're absolutely still in great shape there. You know, there's lots of people from out of state that are going to be heading through West Virginia and so on like that. And there's a lot of people that will be coming here to live.
All right, last question from Ruthie Scott in Gent. Hello, I'm Ruthie. Thank you, Governor Justice, for your leadership and prayers through the COVID pandemic. I pray that your plan to cut the income tax will work as well, and I wonder if you think by raising the tax on soda and things like that, that it will help make our state healthier. What other benefits might there be? We are blessed to have you during these times.
Well, Ruby, thanks. I mean, really and truly, there's a lot of days that you really need that, and I really, really appreciate your kind words. There's no question if we were to drink less soda pop and surely smoke less or use less tobacco products, we would be more healthy. The burden on our Medicaid, Medicare rolls and so on like that is numerous. And so indulging in things that are not good for our health, would surely be better for all of us. Now, I've got to admit, I've sure drank a ton of soda pop along the way, and that's no good. And I get that it's no good. And at the same time, though, praise the Lord, I have never, ever even tried a cigarette or any type of tobacco. I just have been very blessed there. So the long and the short of the whole thing is, Ruby, I really appreciate your comments and everything, and as we go forward, I think your numbers, you've got to rely on me to come with the right numbers and everything. But as we go forward, I just hope and pray that we'll take this to heart. I would encourage all of you to call your representatives and express your viewpoints there. And the last thing I would say to you is just this: it would have been awfully simple to just made the victory lap and to stay the state, and awfully simple just to sit back. But I believe in my heart that if we miss this opportunity, we're going to really regret it. This is a chance, West Virginia, to really, really do something. This is a chance to bring people to southern West Virginia. This is a chance to bring people all across our state. All across our state. There's nooks and crannies that are doing really good. But really and truly, those nooks and crannies have needs as well. Additional funding for roads or whatever it may be. But there are so many, somebody said a long time ago, in West Virginia in a lot of ways falls into this in so many different areas. Islands of brilliance surrounded by oceans of mediocrity. We don't want to become that. We do not want to become that. We know how well things may be going in Morgantown or the Eastern Panhandle, but we know how destitute and how tough things are in a lot of other places. This will drive a lot of goodness, a lot of goodness. Thank you all so much, and we'll do it again. We'll do it, and we'll just keep answering your questions. I'm sorry we couldn't answer more, but I'm talked out, and really and truly, I know you're probably tired of listening to me. But thank you so much. Appreciate you.